The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, and thank you for joining today's webinar that will discuss the NJCAR Health Benefits Survey results. Your presenters today are Bruce Mazzarelli from Fotech Insurance Solutions, a division of Hub International, Lou Young of Witham Smith & Brown, formerly the Mirnoff Group, and Ward Bauman from Corporate Synergies Group. Today's webinar will discuss the results of the NJCAR Health Benefits Survey conducted at the end of 2016 and how they might impact dealership decisions regarding the health benefit plans they offer. Topics discussed will include carrier choice, plan types, premiums, employer and employee contributions, copays, out-of-pocket expenses, health reimbursement arrangements, high deductible health plans, and more. Now I'd like to turn things over to Bruce, Lou, and Ward.
Thanks, Brian. As Brian pointed out, today we're going to be covering the results for the NJCAR 2016 Health Insurance Survey. So I think what we'll do is just jump into it and talk a little bit about the background regarding the results. This year we did things a little bit differently. The data collection was performed by SurveyMonkey. That made the data collection a little bit easier for us and a little bit easier for the dealers. So we're hoping to see that used and utilized in the future to a much greater extent. The results encompassed a broad demographics of dealerships. We had 138 locations represented. We covered a good sample of North, Central, and South New Jersey, as well as domestic and import dealerships. So we were very pleased with the results. Getting into the basics, Horizon, Blue Cross Blue Shield, again, is the most popular carrier with 40% of the market share. Aetna saw a decline in market share this year, likely in the small group market, and AmeriHealth gained market share while Cigna, Oxford United, and Qualcare were flat or down slightly. What do you see there in terms of the results from the survey?
Well, taking a look at the results, particularly when we see an increase within Horizon and a decrease within Aetna, I think there are a couple of things taking place here. First off, with Horizon, I think you're seeing great popularity with their Omnia product, which is their narrow network solution, which allows 2 tiers of benefits. If someone utilizes the Omnia network, it's a better level of benefits, and we're seeing that very popular in the marketplace. And conversely, in terms of Aetna's decline in market share, excuse me, what we're seeing there is a large pullback in the small group marketplace, in the 50 employee and under marketplace. And in fact, just last week, Aetna made a decision to pull out of the small group marketplace with their insured products, now only offering self-insurance in the below 50 marketplace. I think that the last comment about AmeriHealth would be that some of the Aetna small group business probably also went to AmeriHealth as part of that transition out of the small group marketplace by Aetna.
As far as market plan is concerned, we did see an increase in the popularity of the in-network only plans, EPO and HMO having grown in popularity, while on the opposite side we saw a reduction in the out-of-network plans, POSs and PPOs for the most part. This popularity dropped off to about 23%. And here as well, we're seeing the high deductible plans, the HDHPs, being offered, and they have remained stable. We've got 70% of them being offered in some form or another. Self-insurance funding grew to 19%. Any comment there, Bruce?
Yeah, I think when we're talking about the increase in the in-network products, it probably ties back to Horizon's Omnia push in the marketplace. Those products are predominantly in-network only programs, utilizing, again, that tiered network approach. And then the second piece of this possibly has to do with the data collection. the data was collected based upon a dealership's most commonly utilized program. And very often we see the EPO or in-network only programs, HMOs, as the lower cost or the less expensive options in terms of employee contributions. And as a result of how the data was collected, I think that also that is one of the reasons why the in-network plans grew in popularity.
Here we've got the primary care physicians copay. Not much has changed. We see the $20 to $30 copays are still the most prevalent. For specialists, copays, the most common copay was in the $50 range. And we've got the three-tiered prescription program. The generic copays, again, $10 to $20. The brand name copays, $35 to $50. And the non-preferred brand, $50 to $75. And again, we have not seen a lot of change here over the last 3 years. Out of pocket, in network, this we've seen some bounce back to the mid range, under $5,000. Bruce, what do you think is going on there with that?
I think there are a couple of things at play here. First off, I think some of this is driven by the product or plan design types that are available in the small group marketplace. In the 50 and below marketplace, there are a number of carriers offering a high deductible health plan with a deductible, but then 100% coverage with much lower MOOPs than we have historically seen. So the max amount of pockets on those plans are favorable. The second piece of this perhaps is, again, going back to the Omnia products, the tier 1 level of benefits have much lower out-of-pocket maximums in an effort to steer members, patients, to utilize the Omnia network. So when we put those factors together, we are actually seeing a decrease in the maximum out of pockets, and that's a good thing for employees.
A couple things that we've added. We've starting to get some good data on ancillary benefits being offered. Dental insurance is the most common ancillary benefit, with 98% of the respondents indicating dental was offered. 69% of this time, the employee paid the benefit. Employers contributed towards the dental plan 31% of the time. Voluntary worksite benefits paid for by the employees are offered 82% of the time in responding dealerships. The main carriers there are Aflac and American Fidelity, with 44 and 22% of the market share respectively. Company paid life insurance is offered 64% of the time. Employee paid life benefits generally range in the $15,000 to $30,000 range. Bruce, what are some of the voluntary worksite benefits that are being offered?
The benefits we're typically seeing offered in a worksite setting, voluntary, paid for by the employees, would be disability products, both a short-term supplemental program as well as long-term disability. We see accident policies offered as well as critical illness programs. So those would be the three most typical benefits offered through worksite. And as a fourth, perhaps life insurance, which is often offered as part of that package as well.
So getting into the renewals, we did ask this year for the first time about renewal increases, and the results are included here. 77% of the responding dealerships saw single-digit or better increases in renewals, so that was a good thing. 12% saw increases of 15% or greater. 23% indicated that there was a reduction or no increase at all. There's a variety of reasons why this occurred. Changing carriers, reducing benefits, the mix between employee and employer contributions. Bruce, what other things did you see out there in the marketplace?
I think one of the things that is somewhat of a widespread situation in the marketplace today is related to just carrier trends in terms of the renewal increases that we're seeing. So when we're talking about medical trend and pharmacy trends, we are seeing those down a little bit over past years, and that's coming into play in addition to the strategies that you see on the screen here. Increasing employee contributions is one certainly that is a common strategy. I think in this case, more than half the dealerships utilize that strategy, but the other strategies as well were important to keeping down costs. And I would say that if we compare the fact that 77% of the dealerships had a single-digit increase or better, that is significantly better than we saw in the last several years.
Okay, thanks. So in 16, we changed the survey a bit, and it presented a few challenges in terms of aggregating the data. The data presented here was based on aggregate cost and contribution results for all the plan types. So this hindered the comparison of year-to-year data a little bit, but we were able to massage the sample, the information to the point where we were very comfortable with the numbers that we saw. Did you make any other observations on that, Bruce?
Well, I think that in the end, when you're talking about the most popular plan, because that's what the data was collected off of, you don't necessarily control or capture data based on plan design, but based on the most popular plan, perhaps the most cost-effective plan, or the plan that makes the sense for the greatest number of employees. So while that's a little bit different than in years past, on a go-forward basis, because we hope to collect the data in a similar fashion to 2016, we'll be in a better position to do those comparisons on a year-over-year basis and get some meaningful trends out of the data.
So here's the average annual plan premium by tier. And again, we saw for single coverage slightly below $6,000 a year, which was slightly lower than last year. Couple cost averaged $13,500. Parent-child averaged $11,500, and family costs were around $20,000. And in each case, based on the results that we were able to capture, we saw slight drops from prior year information. So going forward, I think we've got a good base to look at and compare. Then we've got employer contributions. We've got monthly amounts, and again, same types of relationships here. Single coverage, couple, parent-child, and family. Across the all tiers, we saw 47% of the premiums covered by the employers. So again, this is a range between 10 and 25%, and these were pretty much consistent throughout. The survey results indicated that 62% of the employees pay a greater dollar amount for coverage above single, so that was important as well. We've got again, we did a comparison this year between NJ Car and BIA. We wanted to do a broad market comparison. And as you can see, the numbers are pretty much in line with the statewide numbers. The NJ Car sample, the insurance companies did slightly better for single coverage, single employee coverage, where the family, all across the spectrum to the other side, family coverage was slightly higher for NJ Car versus the statewide sample. So again, we're comfortable with the results. We're comfortable with what we're seeing in terms of comparisons. Nothing too greatly out of line with the statewide numbers.
Correct. And I would say, handling a number of clients outside of the auto dealer world, I think that from a premium perspective, a plan design perspective, there are still a lot of similarities in terms of plan designs, price, et cetera, carrier selection and such. So I don't think that the industry itself is markedly different from the industry as a whole. But, you know, obviously we can see some minor differences in terms of costs.
Great. So in summary, again, the results for 16 are isolated in comparison to prior years to a certain extent. The weighted premium average was used based on the most popular plan offered, as Bruce was mentioning. The 16 report does provide an accurate depiction of current setting when compared to the results that were the most popular plan. Employees worked hard to stem increases, and that's the one thing that we saw across the board to a certain extent by making changes to their plans. There were a number of variables considered, and again, as we pointed out before, carrier selection, plan design, funding arrangements, employee contribution strategies. These were some of the primary concerns, some of the primary issues that did allow us to keep the numbers in line to a certain extent. Is that how you saw it, Bruce?
Yeah, I think also, you know, when we're talking about the variables, we didn't spend a lot of time on funding arrangement, but I do think on a go-forward basis, funding arrangement, meaning taking a look at some of the alternate funding strategies, such as self-insurance, level-funded self-insurance, the continued embracing of HRA and HSA plan designs, which may allow for employees to put money on the side to cover expenses as well as the employer, depending upon the model. I think that we're going to see a much greater emphasis on funding arrangements going forward.
That's great. Bruce, is there anything you'd like to add in a wrap-up?
Well, I think that ultimately the survey results, in comparison to prior years, again, created a little bit of challenge, but there is some very good data here to consider. And I would say that in terms of utilizing this data, I would utilize the data in the same fashion it was collected. Take a look at your most common program that you offer today, compare those costs and premiums to what you see within the survey. And I think that's how you're going to get the most benefit from the survey. And again, I see a lot of value here. And then, and follow up on a go-forward basis by collecting the data in a similar fashion over the next several years, we'll be able to really pinpoint some specific trends we're seeing that are specific to your industry. And I think that's very important and certainly an end goal as part of this process.
Yes, and again, if you have any questions, our information is up on the board. Again, this is a very fluid process, so we certainly would welcome any comments or questions during the year, throughout the year before we get to the next sample collection period. So with that, I'll give it back to Brian, and we thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lou and Bruce. We hope everyone found today's webinar informative and worthwhile. As Lou said, if you have any questions, we encourage you to contact Bruce, Lou, or Ward at the email addresses and phone numbers you see on your screen. Finally, I encourage everyone to regularly check the NJCAR Academy webpage on the Coalition's website, www.njcar.org. There's always a complete list of all upcoming live and online training opportunities. Thank you again, and this concludes the webinar.